Well, Tennessee bounces back in a major way. It was exactly what we talked about in Keys of the Game. Be the bully. Tennessee was the bully in that first half. It wasn't all perfect, but it was what Tennessee needed. That and a whole lot more. It's your POSTCAST, Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good Saturday evening, everybody. Late evening, maybe early Sunday morning by the time you're watching this. This is Locked On Vols. It is your team every single day. Appreciate you guys for being here. I'm your host, Eric Cain. Shout out every dayers. Thanks for making Locked On Vols your first listen. This is a POSTCAST. Tennessee, a 45-14 win over the University of Texas at San Antonio, and Tennessee does improve to 3-1 on the season. We're going to recap it, all here on a POSTCAST. Again, this is more instant reactions, okay? We're just a couple of hours removed from the end of the football game, and I had to take care of my work for VolQuest.com, but wanted to get on here and talk to you guys. I'll go back and I'll watch the game more over on Sunday afternoon, and I'll have a column out of VolQuest.com and a couple of different columns, and we'll come back and I'll tell you what I learned from the rewatch and all that. We'll hear scoring plays and all that. But this is supposed to be some raw reactions, just like we did kind of after the Austin Peay game. So it's going to be a little bit of a shorter episode. So I'm shooting somewhere around 24, 25 minutes. Basically thoughts off the top. Joe Milton, his game. It was some highs and there were some lows. And then my big three takeaways in segment number 3. So, bottom line, Tennessee bounced back. Again, like I said in the cold open, one of my keys of the game was Tennessee be the bully. Be the bully. You're the University of Tennessee. You're in the Southeastern Conference. You are playing the University of Texas at San Antonio, UTSA. Be the mother flipping bully. And Tennessee was the bully, 31-0 at the half. 31-0 in the half. 2 touchdowns less than 5 minutes into the football game. That's what I'm talking about. Be the bully. What a great start. It was the start. It was exactly what Tennessee needed. We know what happened last week in the Swamp. We know how Tennessee got pushed around and couldn't get a snap off and couldn't run the football and got exposed defensively, again, to a team that in Florida, which I don't think is very good, and I'm going to stand by that all season long until it proves me otherwise. We know what happened. So we knew the questions coming in here and the doubts, and I've been very critical of Tennessee this past week, and I think it's only fair. I mean, I shoot them like I see them. I think that's why a lot of you guys respect me, and I hope that you guys respect me because I don't ever try to just blow smoke. I tell you what I think. And there's some serious concern about Tennessee. And I knew going into this game, and I said it on Friday's show, that no matter what happens, it's going to be always just UTSA. Always just UTSA. Who cares? Who cares? Like the what Tennessee needed was to win like 65-0. And that'd be the best case scenario. Well, you came out and you scored 2 touchdowns in the first 5 minutes of the football game. You led 31-0 at halftime, and Joe Milton led the parade with an 81-yard zone keep, and he took it 81 yards again to the house on the first play from scrimmage. It was an excellent start to the football game. So being the bully, embracing that bully mantra, that mentality, what a job. What a great job to start things off 31-0 in this football game. Then there was a lull. I'm going to talk about that as the game kind of goes along more into segment 3, my 3 takeaways. There was a lull when things weren't great, but then Tennessee came back and finished strong. A couple more touchdowns in the fourth quarter. We got 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Dylan Sampson, another strong performance. But I thought this was a really good game for Tennessee. Again, UTSA, inferior opponent. I recognize that. But I think that there was a lot of good takeaways from this football game. Running the football, a season high in rushing yards, 303 yards from scrimmage in terms of on the ground. That's really, really good. Tennessee averaged 9.2 yards per carry. I thought that was phenomenal. Running the football, I thought Joe Milton, and I'll talk more about him in the segment number 2, I thought Joe Milton was good. I was trying to say great, and then I went back to good. Thought he was really good in the first half of play. Really good. I thought his misses were good misses, okay? And we'll get into his start of the third quarter in his game overall, but I like that. I thought defense responded a little bit well. I thought Tennessee, gave UTSA no respect for the over-the-top passing game and did a great job of cleaning things up, running and tackling and shooting your arms and your feet and all that. I thought Tennessee overall did okay on third downs. The stats will tell you that Tennessee went 6 of 15 on third downs, but a couple of those towards the end of the ball game were with the second team offense in there. They were just kind of running the football And really, Tennessee kind of went about 50% if you want to get to the nitty gritty. And I thought that was pretty good in this regard. Penalties overall, Tennessee was penalized only 5 times for 40 yards, and that's great considering it was penalized, 10 times for 75 yards a week ago. There was a lot of positives in this football game. Took the shots down the field. A lot of good things in this football game. So I think that the positives outweigh the negatives of this game, in my opinion. But there was obviously some things to focus on. You had the quarterback change, and Josh McCown's son comes in, and I forgot what his name was. I apologize. Josh McCown, former NFL quarterback that played in the league for ever. Owen McCown comes in, and Tennessee didn't have an answer for him. And he was 18 of 20. 18 of 20. One of his incompletions was an interception, 170 yards, and he looked great when Eddie Lee Marburger, really couldn't get anything going in that first half of play. And of course, both of those backups to Frank Harris, who didn't play in this game. Thought Tennessee was really, really good against the run. Tennessee allowed only 88 yards on the ground, no touchdowns, only 2.2 yards per pop. Again, this is an offense that, sure, you played in Conference USA the last couple of years. Sure, you're in the AAC now. But this is an offense that was top 15 in the country in points and yards overall last season. I thought Tennessee did a great job, even though the starting quarterback wasn't in there. So again, I thought that there was some things to build on. I thought you responded the right way. Joe Milton talked, post-game after the Florida game about kind of what were some of those conversations like in the locker room after the Florida loss. It was like, hey, we're either going to come together or we're going to fall apart. And I thought Tennessee came together and responded the same, or the way that it needed to. So again, it wasn't pretty. There were some things to work on, and we're going to get into that here in segment number 2 because I know a lot of people listening, and the backup quarterback is always the most popular player on campus, and it only magnifies and only intensifies when that backup quarterback's the number 1 overall player in the country, a 5-star, and the reportedly $8 million man, right, in NIL. But every single time Joe Milton misses, every single time Joe Milton's not perfect, the chance for Nico, I think it's outrageous, but I understand it. I get where you're coming from. And I still recognize that Joe can still play a little bit better. But I'm going to get into his performance and how he played really, really well in the first half. But that third quarter from him and the entire team can get you beat against a good team. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. I want to tell you about our friends over at Athletic Brewing, proud sponsor of the show. Jumped on a couple weeks ago, did Athletic Brewing Company, and super thrilled to have them. So, your game changer of the week, and of course, we'll get into more of this on Monday, but game changer of the week for Tennessee, I thought that, Squirrel White had a really, really good game in this one. Just like Squirrel White, Athletic Brewing Company's completely changed the non-alcoholic beer game as well. They make non-alcoholic beers actually taste good. They brew over 50 styles of craft non-alcoholic beer, including IPAs, golden sours, and more. They're constantly releasing limited edition experimental styles to add to their variety as well. They're fit for all time, so you can drink them anytime, anywhere, and make any activity even more enjoyable, like watching the big game, or maybe it's your kids' games, tackling work, or working out. No hangovers ever. You can find Athletic in store, online, or at the bars around the country. They're the fastest growing non-alcoholic brewery in the United States, so go ahead and get on board. What's your favorite Athletic brew? What do you like? When do you like to have one? Some of the examples for the big game, when you're with your friends, there's never a bad time to indulge in an Athletic Brewing. So you can find Athletic Brewing Company's non-alcoholic brews at a store near you. You can buy online at athleticbrewing.com. The first-time customers can use the promo code LOCKEDON to get 15% off your first online order. That's promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for 15% off at athleticbrewing.com. Near beer, exclusions and conditions apply. Athletic Brewing Company, fit for all times. All right, guys, welcome back into it. Locked On Vols, your postcast. Tennessee, a 45-14 winner over UTSA here on a Saturday night. I appreciate you guys for being here. A lot of good things, and I kind of highlighted some of those good things that I thought outweighed the negative. Let's talk about Joe Milton. Joe Milton is probably what you guys want to talk about, and we'll go ahead and get into him here in segment 3. Segment 2. His final stats in this football game: 18 of 31, 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked once. He had a long of 48 yards. Of course, that was the Ramel Keaton touchdown, I believe. He ran the football 5 times for 94 yards. He was sacked once for a loss of 5. So he ended the game at 89 yards and a touchdown. I thought Joe Milton did a lot of good things in this game. Again, starting from play number 1, the 81-yard touchdown run. So many times we talk about, we're talking about zone read. The defenses aren't respecting Joe Milton's running ability. Why? Because Joe Milton doesn't keep it in the zone read. And if you're a defense and you know that the quarterback's not going to run, you are going to sell out for the handoff. You're going to sell out. And even though nobody's sitting around waiting for quarterback, you're going to hand it off and go make that tackle. If you put it on tape, if you show teams the ability that your quarterback can keep on the zone read and make something happen, then teams have to start respecting it. And I thought it was just brilliant. I know they weren't trying to go out and score a touchdown on the very first play of the game, but hell, you'll take it, right? But I thought it was brilliant to put it on tape early in this football game of Joe Milton keeping the zone read. Therefore, South Carolina, A&M, Alabama, Kentucky, everybody else on that schedule now has to respect Joe Milton. Gotta respect Joe Milton now, his ability to keep on the zone read and try to make something happen. Lo and behold, he keeps it, runs 81 yards. What a great start. Tennessee needed to show that. Joe needed to show that he could run, and you took a team that you're better than, and you bullied them right from the get-go. 81 yards to the house. What a start for the University of Tennessee. What a start for Joe Milton, right? Joe Milton started this football game 14 of 16. Or excuse me, I believe it was... 14 of 16. Joe Milton started this football game. In the first half, a lot of perimeter throws, some screens and all that. I get all that. But even in the first half, and I'll chart this when I go back and watch it, guys, but even in the first half, didn't take a whole lot of shots down the field. But when he did, I thought that they were really good misses. So you missed one to McAllen Castles over the middle that might have been a little high, okay? You threw one to Ramel Keaton in the back of the end zone where the defensive back just made a play. On the last drive of the first half, that 55-yard bomb or whatever it was to Chaz Nimrod, I mean, hell, that was a damn good ball. I'm getting into it with some guys on the GQ, and, people have made up their minds. Some people. You don't like Joe Milton, and no matter what he does, you're never going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And again, Joe is Joe to this point, and that's fair. I'm not sitting here trying to say you should... Joe Milton needs to be the quarterback for this reason, that, or whatever. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there are some people out there that have already made up their minds. It doesn't matter what happens. He could cure cancer, and you're still going to say, well, he should have cured it 5 years ago. You know what I'm saying? But that throws a perfect example. I don't know if the receiver, was too wide on that. I don't know if Joe should have maybe throw the football a little bit more inside on the shoulder. But what I do know is that was a 50-plus yard bomb down the far sideline, and it was a gorgeous, gorgeous ball. I'm not gonna sit here and chastise Chaz Nimrod for not reeling that in. Again, it was right out there. It was off his fingertips. I'm just saying that was a good ball. These bazooka Joes, overthrow Joes, yada, yada, yada. Well, he was 8 yards behind the defense. Why can't you just put it in there? Guys, the throw was 50-plus yards, and it was a good one. Man, I just thought that was a damn good throw to end the half. I did. I know I'm getting passionate about it because I just thought it was a good throw. I'm going to say it again. I thought it was a good throw. But then you kind of go into that second half, that third quarter lull that we'll talk a little bit more about in segment number 3. It was bad, all right? For as good as Joe Milton was in the first half, even his misses looked pretty good. He started the game 14 of 16. Then he went 0 for 8 on his next 8 throws. One of those was, I believe, or maybe this was after that, but the Ramel Keaton one that kind of knocked Keaton out over the middle. Thought that was a good throw. Thought that was a really, really good throw. And I thought Ramel Keaton, I'll have to go back and watch it on the replay again because I didn't get to see many replays. But if he didn't hit the turf and kind of get hurt there, he probably doesn't get that ball jarred loose. That's probably another big gain, right? The one to Squirrel White in the end zone, that's probably the worst miss of those aren't horrible throws kind of category that I'm putting out there because Squirrel White's all by himself in the back of the end zone. The ball was a little high. But I'm telling you, again, you want that one back. I hear you. But if you had any other receiver on that football team, that's a touchdown catch because the fact of the matter is Squirrel White is 5'8" or 5'9", whatever it is. And you want him out there because he's going to make more plays than not, but he's a short dude. And if you had anybody else in that spot, they were going to make that catch. And I'm not trying to just, crap on Squirrel White here. It's just fact of the matter. He's a short guy. And if you had a taller receiver there, that's touchdown. Point blank, it's touchdown. I thought that one was not that bad. There's a couple other ones that I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but then there were some bad ones. I mean, that one to Squirrel White right across the middle of the field, threw it well behind him. Like, what are you doing there? I mean, there was a couple bad throws. So, as good as Joe Milton can look, man, just find that consistency. Find that consistency, because you cannot go 0 for 8 in a stretch against South Carolina. You'll get your butt whipped. During that time. And again, Tennessee's whole team did not come out in the second half ready to go. It wasn't just Joe Milton. Look at Joe Milton's first half stats compared to his third quarter stats, horrendous. You look at Tennessee's first half offensive stats compared to the third quarter offensive stats, horrendous. Tennessee's defense didn't come out well either. You had UTSA that marched down the field at the start of the third quarter, scoring on a 3-yard pass from Owen McCown. Made a change at quarterback. Owen McCown comes in. He leads UTSA down, scores on a 15-play, 75-yard drive that took 7 minutes and 28 seconds off the clock. Countless third downs were converted during that 15-play drive. And Tennessee's defense did not do well, so you allowed that touchdown. Tennessee's offense goes 3 and out, and then UTSA comes back down. A 43-yard pass from Owen McCown to Alcoa's own Tyke Ogle-Kellogg. Again, 43 yards, 66 yards off 4 plays, only a minute 13. So right off the bat, you have UTSA that scores 14 points, and then it's kind of getting close. There's like 31-14. It's like, what are you doing here? Tennessee put the clamps on. They didn't score again. Tennessee scored twice in the fourth quarter. And again, it was 45-14. It was a good win. But that third quarter was not great. You had, at one point in time, like 141 yards of total offense for UTSA in the third quarter, whereas Tennessee had like 7 yards of total offense. Third quarter wasn't good. Joe Milton wasn't good. Tennessee's offense wasn't good. Tennessee's defense was not good. Was not good in the third quarter. So it just is what it is. My point is, Joe looked really good. He did some good things all day long, and I still think it was a strong game for Joe Milton. But there was a stretch where he looked horrible, and that type of stretch will get you beat, in my opinion. You're going to miss plays here and there. You're going to have a bad series. You're going to have a bad throw, and that's fine. Nobody's going to be perfect, okay? But when you have a stretch like that, and your offense endures a stretch like that, a team like South Carolina with arguably the best quarterback one of the best quarterbacks in the country right now, in Spencer Rattler, you're going to get your tail whipped. So that was a little alarming. Overall, I think Joe Milton a solid game. That completion percentage is not good at the end of the game. 18 of 31, whereas you started 14 of 16. But overall, I thought it was a strong game for Joe Milton, but a missed opportunity. Tennessee should have got another quarterback. A whole lot of work in this one. In Nico, a whole lot of work in this one, but I'll get into that here in just a second. Joe Milton threw the ball very well. I continue to say I thought outside of a series he was pretty sharp against Virginia. I thought that even though it was a lot on the receivers, I thought his worst game by far of the season was against Austin Peay. I thought he was much, much better. Still needed to do some things against Florida, but I thought he was much better against Florida, and I thought that he was much better, especially for 3 quarters tonight this evening than he was against Florida. He also got bent up pretty well, man. It looked kind of gross, and I'm not sure if he was really the same after that. He said he was fine in post game, but again, I'll get more thoughts. I'm going to go back and watch this game later tonight, early tomorrow morning. I'm going to have a column out there, so I'll come back with some more focused, if you will, some more notes from this football game on things I missed in real time. And I miss a lot of things. I'm not gonna pretend that I get everything in the first time around. I mean, I'm writing, I'm tweeting, I'm statting, I'm doing all this type of stuff. So I miss a lot. I'll go back and watch. When we come back, some of the big 3 takeaways outside of what I've already talked about. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. I want to tell you about our friends over at LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. How do they do that? Well, simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and then ultimately hire. It's why small businesses rank LinkedIn Jobs number 1 in delivering quality hires versus its leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, guys, we got a final segment left here. This postcast edition, Tennessee a 45-14 winner over UTSA. Welcome back into it. I'm Eric Cain. A reminder: on Monday's show, I'm gonna have all my notes from the rewatch, so I'll have a much better idea of exactly what was going on there, and really looking forward to that. Last segment here, I labeled it the big three takeaways. I've already talked about a lot of it, but I'm going to give you a couple more takeaways here. The first two are going to be quick because the last takeaway, what we're going to end the show on, is arguably one of the most important things that we got to keep an eye on as the week goes on. First and foremost, I already mentioned it a little bit earlier, Tennessee runs the ball. Tennessee's at its best when it runs the football well. Tennessee 303 yards rushing in this football game. And, of course, a big jolt of that came on an 81-yard touchdown run from Joe Milton on the first play from scrimmage. You got to love that. But Dylan Sampson, career day, baby. 11 carries, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jabari Small looked good as well. 9 carries. He had 61 yards, averaging nearly 7 yards a pop. He had a touchdown as well. Jalen Wright, I'll talk more on this here in a moment, but a little bit banged up. Only carried the ball 4 times, but he was shaken up, and he did not return after, I believe, getting shook up a little bit early in the third quarter. Maybe it was the second quarter, but thought running the football was great. Tennessee's going to be what it wants to be. It's got to run the football. 303 yards rushing. You got to love that. Tennessee averaging over 9 yards a carry. You got to love that. A lot to love there for sure. Number 2, defensively, my charge was go get the football. Go get the freaking football. Well, it wasn't, as much as I'd want, but Tennessee did go get the football twice. I believe Tennessee won the turnover battle 2-0. Tennessee had 2 interceptions, and that was really, really good to see. Let's see here. Tennessee had... Tennessee won the turnover battle 3-0. Yeah, Tennessee had a fumble recovery. I forgot about that. Anyway, two interceptions. One from Tamari McDonald, which he played it just like a wide receiver, and that was good to see. And the other one came from Warren Burrell. Yeah, the other one came from Warren Burrell. So 2 interceptions for Tennessee. That was awesome to see. Tennessee also had 4 sacks and 7 TFLs. Yeah, 4 sacks, 7 TFLs. Another sack for Tyler Barron. I think that's 4 on the season for him. It's really, really good to see. He had a sack from Caleb Herring, a strip sack. That's right. That was that third turnover. Caleb Herring, a strip sack. Austin Lewis recovered it. That was good to see. Omar Norman Lott, it was suspended in the first half, but he came back and he had a sack. And who was the other one that had a sack? Tamari McDonald also had a sack. Tennessee 7 TFLs as well. So, again, it was an inferior opponent. It was good to see. I like the way the coaches were dedicated to rotating the secondary. Saw some guys in different spots, in different places this game. Jordan Thomas, right with the second team at star, also played a little bit of safety along with Andre Turrentine. You saw Brandon Turnage play more corner instead of star this week, which was good to see. Still not as many snaps for Ricky Gibson as we'd like. I don't understand that. I would play him over Warren Burrell at this point, but that's just me. But anyway, the dedication to rotating guys in the secondary, I like that an awful lot. So that's my second point. And then point number 3, gosh, you hate it in games like this. I don't think any of these are super severe, but of course, not to sound like Josh Heupel, we'll know as the week goes along. But you had too many guys getting banged up in this football game, man. Too many guys banged up in this football game. At points in times, you saw Cooper Mays, of course, did not play in this football game, and man, you just wonder if he's going to be back next week and just kind of determine when he's going to be back. Again, it's a situation that is tough to come back from if you're playing football at this level. I get it. But this is about the 3rd week in a row that he's been out there, pads, going through warm-ups, all that type of stuff. We'll see if he gets back next week. But you're without Cooper Mays. You're without the Nico Slaughter, who repped and warmed up in the secondary but did not in pregame, but did not play in this football game. Let's see here. You had Joe Milton, who got banged up a little bit, talked about his knee getting bent. I mean, everybody in the press box kind of holding their breath. They're like, ooh, that did not look good, but he bounced right back up, went back in. That was good to see. Jalen Wright got banged up. And again, this is just from, 50 yards away, up in the box. I haven't even watched the replay. It looked like he got landed on. It looked like he got his bell rung a little bit. Maybe going and looking at a situation to where, maybe concussion protocol or something. Just check him out. Again, I don't know if he could have came back in or not, but like, why risk it? He's your best running back. But you could tell he got his bell rung just a little bit because I think he got landed on after a run. So Don't think that's too serious, but we will see. Brew McCoy, he got banged up a little bit. That's why Caleb Webb came in and played for him early on. It was good to see Caleb Webb have a touchdown as well. But he had his helmet on, ready to go. He was active on the sideline the entire time. That leads me to believe that he was going to be just fine. Ramel Keaton, that was scary stuff, man. Again, I'll go back and watch it more closely on the rewatch, but going and trying to make that catch, and his head is the first thing that hits the ground. Man, I banged my head on turf one time, and I had a turf like stain on my helmet one time. God, it hurt. God, it hurt. And so I'm sitting there, and I feel for him, man. And it looked like he was knocked out, and he got up and he walked to the sideline. That was great to see, but obviously talking about some concussion, checking in to see if he had a concussion there, because you saw on the replay he banged his head off the ground, and man, that's some scary stuff. John Campbell did not have his helmet for much of the second half, was over there on the sideline. He didn't look like he was super injured, but he didn't have his helmet. So what's the situation there? Aaron Beasley went out, didn't go back in. Could he have gone back in? I think he probably could have, but he was kind of held out a little bit. Dominic Bailey was out for the rest of the game as well. So, again, those are a lot of guys. Some of those guys are really big-time key contributors that you never want to see get hurt in a game like this. Now, again, I'll say it again. Some of these guys, I'm not going to speculate on which ones and everything, more than I already have, but I think some of these guys, if you were playing a South Carolina and Alabama and SEC team where you weren't winning 31-0 at halftime, you would have saw those guys come back in. But, why bother, right? Why bother? Why risk it? So, man, too many guys kind of got banged up in this one. You didn't really like to see that whatsoever. So we'll have to keep tabs on some of these guys. Joe Milton, of course, he came in. He never missed any action. Jalen Wright, Brew McCoy, Ramel Keaton, John Campbell, Aaron Beasley, Dominic Bailey, Danico Slaughter, Cooper Mays. Those last two, of course, didn't play. They were held out, but I have to keep tabs on those guys as the week goes on. Anyway, you want to spin it, Tennessee did exactly what it was supposed to do. It was a 31-point victory. A lot of crying, a lot of belly aching. I get it. It wasn't perfect. I get it. The third quarter was awful. I get it. There were some bad throws by Joe Milton in this football game. I get it. At the end of the day, Tennessee did exactly what it was supposed to do. It jumped out 31-0. It scored twice in the first 5 minutes, scored on this first play from scrimmage. Tennessee won by 31 points against an inferior opponent. Sure, it was only UTSA. I understand it, but this is the type of response. This is the type of game that we wanted to see, that we needed to see from Tennessee, and Tennessee delivered. Now, what's this mean next week in South Carolina? We'll break that down. We'll project that. We'll preview that all next week, okay? That's what next week is for. But what we needed to see tonight was Tennessee respond the right way, and that's what we got. Tennessee responded the right way, okay? You get 12 Saturdays guaranteed every single season. Tennessee got a dub tonight. Pat yourself on the back and move on, guys. Appreciate you guys for listening. Appreciate you guys for watching. Hope you guys are enjoying your weekend. You got a big Orange win, so that's something to celebrate for sure. We will break down even more of this football game. I'll rewatch it tomorrow. We'll come back on Monday with some of my rewatch notes, scoring plays, and a whole lot more, and then we'll start to look at South Carolina. Big week ahead for Tennessee, and no better place to get previewed for that game than right here on Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for being here. Have a blessed Sunday, everybody.